I'm talking like a complete change of industry, like people no longer being able to work as a XYZ, and having to kind of reshift their overall lifestyle. It's something that, I think in 10 years, like I think about my son who's 16 in 10 years when he's, 26 and out in kind of the working world, that's going to be it's going to be interesting to see how they have to navigate things like this, buying a home.
You're listening to the Ottawa Real Estate Podcast with your hosts, Paul Stevenson, David Warren, and Greg Campbell. Let's see what's going on in the world of real estate today.
Present. I'm present.
I am
I'm present.
here.
I'm present.
I am
I'm present.
here.
I'm alert. I'm awake.
I'm activated. Welcome to the Ottawa Real Estate Podcast, your ultimate source for everything related to the Ottawa real estate market. Whether you're a first-time homebuyer, a seasoned investor, or simply interested in keeping up with the latest trends and insights, this podcast is for you. Each episode, we bring you in-depth analysis and expert opinions on various topics related to the Ottawa real estate market. From market trends and statistics to investment strategies and property management, we cover it all. Our guests include industry leaders, real estate professionals, and experts in related fields who share their insights and experiences to help you make informed decisions about your real estate ventures. Gentlemen, how are we doing? Good morning.
Doing great.
Fantastic. We're present. Clearly, we're present.
Very present. I'm a little tired. I had an awakening in the middle of the night, caused me to not fall back asleep properly. So it's one of those things. But I'm here. Done my morning routine. Done my little workout at home. So the energy levels are coming back up.
Apparently.
Yeah.
Apparently,
that was basically a pointless conversation. There was no reason for me to say any of that.
And if you're just listening, Greg was actually slapping himself in the face as he was saying alert.
That's
alert. Oh, how was the weekend? We weren't. Some of us were gathered. We were all together on Friday for an amazing event that Dave was putting on, Martini Madness.
Yeah, how was it?
Well?
The madness ensued. It was good. But, as I always say, starts off classy, ends up sloppy.
That's how you want it, right?
Yeah,
I saw LaBelle posted a pic of the night, Glass Tiger setting up or whatever, and him getting ready to play. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, he was counting as I went by with martinis. He was as he was singing, he was just like counting on his hand how many times I walked by with drinks. It's pretty funny.
Nice.
Yes. He only got to 3, right? Other than that, that's where I was Friday. Saturday, we actually had a family outing to go see the new Mario movie, which was pretty fun.
Nice.
We had about 20 of us there, I think, was the total count. So the theater had no idea what was hitting them. That was good. Yesterday was a Mother's Day.
Yes, it was.
Enjoyed your Mother's Day. We had a nice barbecue here. A couple accidents in the yard, unfortunately. Some people had to leave early.
Really?
Yeah.
Injuries?
One of my nieces unfortunately rolled her leg, basically rolled her ankle. We thought it was her ankle, but ended up breaking her tibia.
No.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I was at the hospital till late last night. So
Yeesh.
yeah. So our thoughts are with her today. It was tough to watch, but yeah, the barbecue was great afterwards, though. I mean, my mom was able to stay, which was nice, but my sister unfortunately had to go. So,
That's too bad.
new day, new us.
Yeah, Mother's Day was good. I just it was the first full Sunday that we've had off since the girls started dance. So it was wild and thoroughly enjoyable, and made me realize that Sunday needs to be a day like that. Always.
The Sabbath. Yes, we need the
Sabbath.
We need to bring back
Black
Sabbath,
where we worship each other.
Speaking of Glass Tiger, Black Sabbath, we're back.
What'd you get up to, Dave?
Oh, well, Friday was Martini Madness, setting up for that all day. Saturday, cleaning up for Martini Madness. And some family stuff. It's all good. All good.
We're so plain.
I know.
Yeah. It's like, where was the fight? Where was the bar fight or something? I feel like one of us should have had a bar fight to make this show exciting.
A bar fight. Wow.
Chairs
Many years ago. So, yeah, what's up, guys?
Great segue. Segue, Greg.
How's real estate?
Yeah.
So
we transitioned from Ultimate Fighting to real estate.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, last week was interesting. It seemed that a lot of people out shopping. There was some comments on the show that actually, sorry, I think it was on TikTok. Someone was saying, "Oh, you guys are just trying to strum up business." And it's like, well, no, we're as usual. We just talk to pump up the market even when it's not pumped. So we just make up stats and say them so that we can line our own pockets somehow. But no, the market certainly, it seems to be, there's more people out shopping, less inventory, which creates obviously more competition, as we've been saying. And a lot of, had some people disappointed last week and some people that were able to kind of sneak in. So what are you guys seeing yourselves in the market? What's the last week look like?
For me, I definitely got a couple of conditional purchase agreements in, but that were multiple offers. They were able to get them with 2 and 3 day conditions of financing, not having to go unconditional, but having to cut down that period of time. But there was multiple offers and properties in the and that's on properties in the 600 range, 800 range. And then my my Vancouver client just keeps losing out on unconditional offers on condos out there. So still at the 900 and million mark for 600 and 700 square foot condos. So it's not just an Ottawa phenomenon.
No, it's not.
As we said last time, it is everywhere, but that things are picking up in certain or have been picking up steam, certainly from in certain price points. But even around the corner from me, I'm just off Preston, that there are a number of properties that listed, price points over $1 million and sold same week, in that $1 million plus mark. So I don't know what they ended up going for. I don't know, anything like that. I didn't have a chance to look it up, but just from an observational standpoint, I saw them go up, and that sold sign go up pretty quickly and some of those higher price points as well.
It's happening, man. It's happening everywhere. From what I understand, Calgary is like the most aggressive right now that it's been in years.
Really?
Yeah, like way crazy.
I'm interested to hear. I know the East Coast is really busy. I've got a good buddy out there that's a realtor in Fredericton, and I'm actually meeting up with him this weekend in Toronto for a couple of Jays games. So I'm interested to hear from him how I'll be able to report back next episode, but what he's seeing in the East Coast market as well. But it's been a lot of the same from what I gather of busy. And it hasn't really slowed down from what I gather out there. But
yeah, and we're seeing the same thing here. Multiples all over the place.
How's the rental market been for you, Greg? I know you had a ton of people. You had your pet clauses in there, but
I think
how's that been going?
Right now, I'm glad that I've taken on more rental clients because I'm finding that as things heat up here, that there are some people getting completely pushed out of the market and just kind of saying, like, throwing in the towel, being like, okay, well, we're just going to rent, and they're just going to keep their money and wait and to see what happens, because they're pushed out to a point where they can't even remotely get what they're looking for. And what their options are is not something that's suitable for them. They'd rather rent something bigger and hold on to their money. And I mean, hopefully eventually that turns around and they can get what they want in terms of a purchase. But for right now, they're making that decision. I've never seen that more than right now. So I have currently, we won the rental for my guys from the UK on Friday. We finally got one, which was huge. I can't describe the happiness of that one. So they're coming to town in June. And I lost 3 other rental deals over the weekend in multiple offers.
Wow. What areas of town? All Orleans?
These were all in Orleans, and that was just by total coincidence. So 6 offers on one, 8 offers on another, 5 offers on another one.
Wow.
And you know, I'll be honest, my clients are pretty strong, but both single people. So I don't think that, you know what I mean? I think that the landlords ultimately chose double income. Just seems like more security. You know what I mean? If someone was to lose their position.
The dinks, double income, no kids.
Yeah, the dinks. So, but I'm telling you, man, like I was talking to Luca the other day. He was just saying, like, we're glad that we're taking on this rental business because, you know, we do okay, but right now, we seem to be doing a lot of it, and we're happy to do it because it keeps things moving, keeps us active in the market, keeps the income coming in. You know.
Have you run into, Greg, anyone yet that had to sell just due to rates and so on, and then kind of converting into a rental?
No, but I'm running into people who are having to move from rental to rental because the landlords have sold their primary residence to move into their smaller one that they own outright.
Interesting.
Very interesting. So, I mean, like every scenario is totally different, but there's a couple that I'm working with where the big clients are actually moving in.
I think we're going to see a big shift, regardless of rates. I think just with the advance of, sounds so cliche, the advance of AI and large language models. But no, with the advance of AI, and I was just thinking of places like Smiths Falls. You know, if you remember 5 years ago, 10 years ago, Smiths Falls was this place to be. Values were doubling because of Tweed was out there and so on, Canopy. And now they're no longer, I think they shut down their warehouse there, right? They're just kind of having administration and so on. So I've seen, having been out in Smiths Falls fairly frequently, that, values have kind of stagnated there a bit. They're still building. They're still doing a lot of new builds out there, which is interesting. But things like that, I think as jobs shift over the next 5 to 10 years, we're going to see a lot of people that are going to also have to shift their employment, which will then, it's going to shift every area of their life, I would imagine, whether they need to downsize, maybe get outside the city or so on. So I'm interested to see how those sorts of things, Greg, impact people having to do those sorts of kind of creative moves or lateral moves.
And I think that, there was somebody that even had a question posted one of the last episodes to that point with the government, the new government union negotiations, the work from home for that, 130 or 150,000 government workers, primarily within Ottawa, how that might change the landscape of real estate values within Ottawa and its suburbs, but also those peripheral townships like Smith Falls or Carleton Place, Rockland, things like that, and how it will impact values there. And I think to your point, Paul, that as more businesses and depending on whether this is ratified with the government and whether it is longstanding of work from home, but I'm sure over the years that'll just become more commonplace. A lot of these outside towns values will go up because demand will be there. We certainly saw it over the pandemic, so I don't see why that would slow down or why that would kind of revert course, if you will. I don't know, Greg, what you think on that? I'm
not seeing it right. Like, I'm not seeing it personally, but it's going to happen for sure. I think it is. It's one of these things like, the remote work is pushing out. The prices are going up in town. People are going to go further out again. Then the prices will go up out there. Then it'll pause. I mean, it's just, it seems like the cycle, right? We've had this weird limbo the last 8 months and people just trying to figure out what they really want to do based on what they see happening in the economy or with their life and their business. But I don't know.
That's what I'm wondering though. Like I obviously, yes, with remote work, we do see people push out, but I'm thinking outside of remote work, I'm talking like a complete change of industry, like people no longer being able to work as a XYZ, and having to kind of reshift their overall lifestyle. It's something that, I think in 10 years, like I think about my son who's 16 in 10 years when he's, 26 and out in kind of the working world, that's going to be it's going to be interesting to see how they have to navigate things like this, buying a home. And I was telling you, he's taking that class, personal life management, very interesting course. But they're going through all these things. And I mean, I was telling you about that worksheet that we were filling out about getting a mortgage, and the house is 250,000 downtown and so on, and how archaic that seemed. And it's probably done 5 years ago. In 10 years from now, like, they're learning all this, but it's like us, we were talking about with our business classes being typing and being completely irrelevant now. I mean, you still have to type, but I mean, it's no longer business. I wonder what that, what that's going to look like for them, for kids that age, 5-10 years, both finding jobs, but also trying to find places to live. Like, what's that rental market going to look like? What's the long-term horizon of this trajectory?
The only, and we've said this before, and this was a big thing last year, just in some media platforms, that, the best thing that a parent can do for their kids right now is to buy another property and keep it for them later, and to have property, because there'll always be people needing to rent. And, it's one of these things, like right now, we're in a situation where we're kind of like, we love where we are, but we'd like to be maybe further out, or maybe into something just a little bit bigger for some, multi-purposes at home. And, we're sitting there going like, well, do we look and try to buy something bigger? And in my mind, I'm like, no way, because I don't want to be tied up in that. But so now we're looking at maybe buying something smaller that we can have as an income property, right? Just as something else, just to have a position,
So I wanted to, because I know we always talk about, average price is, 700, 800,000. I was talking to a friend of mine who we had a mutual client that was looking to get into investments, kind of flipping and so on. And he showed me a property in Ottawa. It was a condo townhome, and it was listed at 215,000. Now, I'm not suggesting this is like, turnkey and everyone should go out and buy this house, but there are still homes in Ottawa that are, sub 500,000. You have to look, obviously. You want to be working with someone like Greg, or, an industry professional that can kind of get you into those markets. But if you're someone who owns your home and wants to get that additional investment property or something, like, you don't have to spend $500,000 to get an investment property or starter home or what have you. So there are properties out there. That's all I'm saying. You can get into them for, less than 50,000 as a current homeowner.
And I think for anyone that hasn't listened to our, 500 episodes, or don't remember from many, probably from 100 episodes ago of kind of that comparison for Paul of start first home being a condo townhome, lived in it for 5 years, 7 years, didn't, value was stagnant, but paid down principal and moved from there. And, it's not everything, values having gone up so dramatically over the last few years. That isn't standard, but getting into something and not trying to, not in your mind as a first time home buyer, thinking you need to go into this mansion right off the bat. You're going to just saddle yourself, and get behind the eight ball. Just, set a plan for savings. There are the RSP first time home buyer programs. There are now the first time home buyer TFSA program that, a couple of banks have launched finally, but there are ways in which you could put aside money that's tax deductible. Just set a plan there and save up that minimum that you need to get in, whether it be a place at 215,000, a condo, getting in something, start getting used to paying that mortgage on a consistent basis, something that's your own pride of home ownership, maybe fix it up to increase that value and make that jump, sell it and make that jump to that next property that might be just slightly bigger, or still a condo townhome, but slightly bigger, or, one that needs more renovations that you can renovate and increase value, and kind of just make those jumps strategically, instead of just thinking right off the bat that I'm going to need to get into something at 5, 7, 900,000,
or thinking
and it becomes daunting.
To own where you live. You know what I mean? Like, if you have a family and you're happy in a rental but can't afford a home that's the size to accommodate that, just buy something small and stay where you are, rent.
Or if you live with your parents, and you're, like, to your point, your parents have, probably lived there for decades. Doesn't mean that you need to live in that exact immediate neighborhood because you're used to it. And that took them how many decades to move into that home? Move somewhere that is affordable for you, that works for you, and get into something that sooner rather than later and move from there. And eventually you'll find that neighborhood that you want to be in. But it's not something that you're going to be able to necessarily have that immediate gratification of like, all right, I'm moving to Rockcliffe. That's my first home.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, we drove by, we were in Blackburn. That's where my first home was. And I grew up in the East End. So I'm now in the West End. And to your point, Dave, it was a big shift to go from East Ottawa to West Ottawa. Like I felt like I was cheating or something. I was committing treason, to move to the West End of the city. But I love it here now. I can't imagine living in the East End. I still go there often, but just like the mental state of having to live in the East End again, to me would be wild to think of that. But I grew up as never thinking I will never live in the West. The West was, the Wild West. I was an East End boy, just an East End boy.
Wow.
So
It's great.
no, but to your point, Dave, I drove by it with the kids the other day, and it was funny looking at them reflect on it because they obviously remember they were much younger. They remember the house being huge and big toboggan hill, and then we drove by and they're like, "What? That's where we used to toboggan." It was like a 6 foot high hill and so on. But yeah, when I bought that house, it was $212,000, which would have been probably 13 years ago now or 14 years ago, and I sold it for $217,000 7 years later. So it went up $5,000 over 7 years. And I thought that was great. I was selling it for a profit. Like there was no thinking of like, oh, I'm going to double this home. And I was a bit disappointed a year after I sold it. I sold it for $217,000, and then the year after that it was worth $350,000. But the home that I'd moved into, I bought it for $340,000 and it was worth over $600,000. So you kind of have these, you may feel like it is like, to me, that was the best starter home. And I wasn't even moving to try to, I wasn't doing it as an investment play. It was just like, oh, well, I'm going to move because this is a slightly bigger home, has an extra bedroom for the kids, and is closer to where I need to be in the city. So that was the only motivation to move. And it just happened that at that time, the market, it was right when just before COVID hit, everything started to kind of ramp up as far as values. But yeah, I think just getting I was saying that property, the 215, as something as an investment, but even as just, you can keep renting and still buy that. You can still buy it, and then, as you said, Greg, you can rent for another year and then maybe move into that a year or two down the road, or rent permanently and gift that to your kids in 10 years when they're old enough or what have you. So that's it.
That's a very good point, and it's just so interesting. Now those things are. Were you right on Orient Park?
Garden Park.
Park,
off Orient Park. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So still around like the high 3s, 400 now.
Bud Gardens. Shout out to Bud Gardens.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, it's always funny looking back at some of those old properties. Same thing. My first home in Barhaven townhome was looking back. I renovated it all, sold it actually at the time for the highest price on the street for $330,000, and through COVID it's goes up to $700 or $750. You can't look back on it because you make a decision. To your point, Paul, you make a decision in that moment of what's best for you and your family, or what is best suited for location or moving up at that time. You can't predict the future and where things are going to be. You have no crystal ball, as much as people believe that Torup does have one, and that we create the market, but we don't, and we don't know necessarily where values are going to be in the future. And so really, when you're buying that first home, you got to look at what you can afford now, how you can get into that home sooner rather than later, and work your way up to that house with a white picket fence, if that's what your goal is.
I'd like to know what other agents are feeling right now. If you're an agent listening to this, please post in the comments just maybe like a couple bullet points about how you're seeing the market right now. Out here again, like I talk about the rentals and losing deals and multiple offers and rentals. There was also a couple that we lost in properties over the last little while, or that we chose not to bid on because they had so many offers, and they both sold for like 60,000, 75,000 over list. Granted, they were listed low to do that, but these are homes that ended up selling around the low to mid fives that probably needed about 50,000 in updates immediately. I would say, you could move in, but you would want to do that within the first year at a minimum. So I'm just curious what everybody else is seeing. I think that there's some homes that were on the market that people thought were overpriced that suddenly are not going to be overpriced anymore. I have a couple of those included. If anyone's interested, call me.
Yeah, that's an interesting dynamic right now too, right? Is that prices are on an upwards trajectory, and there are a lot of properties that are still priced over where the market is now, but will they be there in 30 days? You know, when they've been sitting for 45, are they then going to be priced accurately? Like, how does that
exactly right? Yeah, I'm interested to see where it's going, especially with the numbers for May. But you know, I think there was a comment on the page just about, like, you know, low inventory.
Yeah, I was just going to read that. Do you want me to read it and you can speak to it?
Go ahead.
So it says, do you guys have any idea why inventory is so damn low for this time of year? Because this must be the only reason why prices are up month over month. Is this because no one is selling because they cannot afford to move up or to a bigger home? I guess no one is motivated to sell their more expensive home and downsize to a smaller and more affordable home? Question mark.
Yeah, I mean, there's so many factors that it's hard to really answer that. You know, I remember, you know, during the pandemic, and if you were listening to the show then, it was always like, you know, if no one wants to sell because they can't afford where they want to go, or they would wait to buy something, you know, buy something first that was perfect, overpay. They would pay what the market demanded and then list their home for sale. So, I mean, I'm sure there's some people that are doing the same thing now. There's no real rhyme or reason of why this is happening, but the main comment that we always seem to come back to is that there's not enough homes for the amount of people coming to the city. And I think that that's a big part of what's fueling this this madness again. I'm generally shocked about where the prices are right now. And, you know, thinking in my mind that it's going to just balance out and stay kind of where it is. I don't think that really anymore. Mm-hmm. Just on working in the market and talking to people.
Oh, I think you're on mute there. I think you're on mute there, Paul.
Hey, hey guys, I'm back. I was just saying, I feel like buyers are, like, the people that are actually in the market that I've been speaking to seem very, eager, and I don't want to say aggressive because that seems like a negative connotation, but like they're very purpose driven when they're putting in their offers. Like, they want to buy. They don't want to sit on the sidelines anymore, and they want to actually, like, get in the game. So I think the combination of that, the time of year, the low inventory, like, I think we might see prices go up another 25, 50,000 on average, like, in the next month or two. Like, I think there's just not enough homes right now that the people that do want to aggressively buy are purpose driven, are going to find that home. And we were talking, Greg, on Friday at our lunch, that I had a client put in an offer. Property was listed at $699. I might have talked about this on the show, so I apologize if I did. $699 it was listed. They put in an offer, I want to say just over maybe 30,000 over asking, and it ended up selling for 130,000 over asking. And this was a 2-bedroom, 2-bathroom, like, army home in Carlington. Was it Carlington? Yeah. So wild. And that's like, some prices I find just make no rhyme or reason. Like, you'll get homes in Carleton Place for $1 million, and then you'll get homes in, like, City Center for 800. It's like, what is, like, honestly, the prices are, to me, sometimes make no sense at all.
Oh, yeah, it's all over the place, but
people will pay.
And that's the thing. Like, we have one coming up. We have a beauty coming up in Centerpoint, actually. Single family, detached, original owner, 4-bed, hardwood in the basement, main level, stairs, upstairs. Beautiful property. And, you know, I originally looked at it last summer, and my price was like about 150,000 less than what we're going to list at now. And they haven't done that much more to it, just because we waited. Now they're ready to go. And, you know, initially, when I saw them like 5-6 weeks ago, my price was not as high as it is now. And I was sitting there, like, getting confused, saying, like, am I doing the right thing? Am I right pricing it like this? But when I look at what's going on and seeing any comparables, it's like, absolutely. Especially because there's nothing like it on the market. So as soon as it comes out, what do I think? I think a lot of people are going to come out and pay us a visit.
Purpose-driven.
Purpose-driven.
But to your comment,
players.
To your comment though, Paul, purpose-driven is that there are a lot of purposely driven buyers that aren't just window shopping.
Yeah.
And so again, it goes back to that whole, planning ahead of time, getting pre-approved, going in with a strategy on when you're looking at a house, because there are more and more eyes going on it. We talked last episode about the amount of sales that have increased from 400 in January to 1,200 last month. That statistics, those are factual numbers. So it's tripled in amount of sales in Ottawa over the last few months. There are more people out shopping. There are more transactions going on. So ensure that when you're getting out there, if you're a realtor or you're a buyer, make sure you're getting pre-approved. Make sure your documents are in order. If you're a mortgage broker, make sure you're pre-approving and getting a rate lock in for those clients so that they can get out shopping with confidence. Because again, there are so many people. There are more eyes on properties than there were in January, and so you just need to be properly prepared.
Properly prepared, purpose-driven people.
So many P's.
PDP.
So many
The alliteration.
Hold on. Properly prepared, purpose-driven people. Oh man, that's a headline.
PDP.
That's a headline. David nailed it. Paul and David nailing it. Toe rep 100%. Always. For people, I can't. I need to write it down.
Oh God.
I can't even remember what I said. What you said. So many P's.
Good thing it's recorded. We'll have it. All right. Should we sign in the mood boost?
Well, before we do that, Paul, because in case people tune out and you didn't remind me, I said Friday, remind me. Luckily, I remembered.
Oh, Friday.
We do have a realtor in Carleton Place, Louis Biggs, is donating 2 tickets to the Grant Cardone conference in Toronto.
Oh, sick.
The first, email me, david@referralmortgages.com. And the first person that emails me with looking for the tickets, it is May 26th to 28th in Toronto. It's Grant Cardone. It's a whole hold on. Let me read off who all is there.
Sure, A-Rod will be there.
Yeah, a few others, but great multi-family conference. So anyone that's looking at investing or either in as an investor or looking to get started, he's got some tickets. So reach out to me and I can put you guys in touch. But it's a great donation and should be a great conference. I know he's very energetic and always a lot of people out. So
cool. Yeah, that'll be good for sure.
All right, thanks. Mood boost.
Okay, I got they're mother themed. I went, seeing it's Mother's Day weekend, coming off of Mother's Day weekend. This is for all the moms out there. So, number 1, why did the cookie cry? Because mom was away for too long. Number 2, what do you call a mom that can't draw? Tracy. A lot of Tracys out there. Number 3, what do you call a petite mother? A minimum.
Wow. Yeah, I like that one the best. A minimum.
I got one more.
No. Yes.
Last but not least, a frustrated mother was talking to her best friend. The mom said, "That's it. I'm selling my kid on eBay." And the friend said, "Don't be silly. You made him. Sell him on Etsy."
Wow.
At the wall up there at the end.
Wow, the build up.
That's it. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in to the Ottawa Real Estate Podcast. I didn't drop the agency this week, Greg. I'll have to do that next week.
That's okay.
That's the agency. Thank you, everyone. As always, be sure to, like, share, subscribe, even comment. We read them.
Yeah, and again, please, like I said, realtors, leave comments about how you see the market. I'd like to just go over some of your comments next week on the show.
We should do that. Mortgage brokers, mortgage agents.
Same thing. Yeah, sure.
Realtors, listeners, everyone, leave comments. We love you. We'll be back next week.
Just talk to us, please.
Yeah.
Give us something to talk about.
Don't ignore us. All right. We'll see you next week, everyone. Have a great week.
Deuces.
Thanks for tuning in, everyone. We hope you enjoyed today's episode. Please remember to like, share, comment, and subscribe because we'd really like that.